The sound echoed through the courtroom like a gunshot. Zara Washington's hand flew to her burning cheek, her 6-month pregnant belly making it hard to steady herself in the wooden chair. The blonde woman standing over her had fire in her green eyes, her manicured hands still raised from delivering the slap that would change everything. "How dare you try to take what's mine?" Scarlet Rivers screamed, her designer dress wrinkled from pushing past the court officers. "Theo belongs with me, not some pregnant nobody." The entire courtroom erupted in chaos. Lawyers jumped to their feet, court officers rushed forward, and spectators gasped in shock. But Zara's eyes weren't on any of them. She was staring at her husband, Theodore Blackwood, the billionaire tech mogul who was supposed to love and protect her. He stood frozen behind Scarlet, not moving to help his pregnant wife. "Order. Order in my court." Judge Robert Washington's gavel crashed down repeatedly, his deep voice cutting through the noise. Behind his black robes and stern expression, something flickered in his dark eyes as he looked at the pregnant woman holding her cheek. Zara tried to stand, her hands supporting her swollen belly. The baby inside her kicked frantically, as if sensing the stress flooding her mother's body. She had come to court today thinking this would be a simple divorce proceeding. She never expected Theo's mistress to storm in and assault her in front of everyone. "Mrs. Rivers, you are in contempt of this court," Judge Washington said, his voice deadly calm. "Officers, escort her out immediately." "No!" Scarlet shrieked, fighting against the officers trying to restrain her. "She's trying to steal my man. She's trying to take half of everything that should be mine." Zara felt sick. Not just from the pregnancy, but from watching Theo finally move not to comfort her, but to reach for Scarlet's arm. "Baby, please," he said to his mistress, completely ignoring his wife. "Let's handle this properly." The courtroom fell silent except for Scarlet's continued protests as she was dragged toward the exit. Judge Washington's eyes moved between Theo and Zara, taking in every detail. The way Theo showed more concern for his mistress than his pregnant wife. The way Zara stood alone, abandoned by the man who had promised to love her forever. "Mr. Blackwood," the judge said slowly, "is this woman your wife?" Theo barely glanced at Zara. "We're getting divorced, Your Honor. That's why we're here. I asked if she is your wife, not about your future plans." A long pause. "Yes, she is." "And you're the father of her child?" Another pause, this one longer. "Yes." Judge Washington leaned back in his chair, studying the scene before him. 28 years old, beautiful despite her distress, pregnant and alone. The woman in front of him looked exactly like someone he once knew. Someone he had lost through his own pride and stubbornness. "Mrs. Blackwood," he said gently, "do you need medical attention?" Zara finally found her voice. "No, Your Honor. I'm fine." But she wasn't fine. Nothing about this was fine. She had discovered her husband's affair 3 months ago when she found text messages on his phone. Love messages to Scarlet Rivers, the socialite daughter of a restaurant chain owner. Messages that said he was only staying married until after the baby was born to avoid bad publicity. The betrayal had cut deep, but she thought she could handle a civilized divorce. She never imagined it would come to this, being attacked by her husband's pregnant mistress while he did nothing to protect her. Judge Washington's assistant whispered something in his ear. He nodded and looked back at the room. "This court will recess for 15 minutes. Mr. Blackwood, I expect you to control your friend. Any further disruptions will result in serious consequences." As people filed out of the courtroom, Zara remained in her seat. Her lawyer and best friend, Nina Brooks, rushed to her side. "Zara, are you okay? We should press charges." "I just want this over with," Zara whispered, still touching her cheek. The sting had faded, but the humiliation burned bright. She looked toward the exit where Theo was comforting Scarlet, whispering in her ear and stroking her hair. Judge Washington watched from his bench, making notes but really studying Zara's face. The resemblance was unmistakable. Same dark eyes, same delicate features, same proud way of holding herself even when hurt. He had seen that look before 28 years ago, when he had chosen his career over his family. When he had walked away from his pregnant girlfriend because he thought a baby would ruin his chances of becoming a judge. When he had abandoned Zara and her mother without ever looking back. Now his daughter sat in his courtroom, pregnant and abandoned by another man, and she had no idea who was about to decide her fate. The irony wasn't lost on him. Theo Blackwood, the arrogant billionaire who had just chosen his mistress over his pregnant wife, had no idea he was about to face the judgment of the woman he had wronged's father. A father who had spent 28 years regretting the worst decision of his life. A father who was about to make sure his daughter finally got the justice she deserved. Judge Washington smiled slightly as he made more notes. Theo Blackwood was about to learn that some mistakes come with a very high price. The courthouse bathroom felt like a sanctuary compared to the chaos of the courtroom. Zara splashed cold water on her face, trying to calm down for the baby's sake. Her reflection stared back at her brown skin flushed from stress, dark curls escaping from her neat bun, and eyes that held too much pain for someone so young. Nina Brooks stood beside her, fury radiating from every inch of her petite frame. "I can't believe that woman hit you. And I can't believe Theo just stood there." "I can," Zara said quietly, drying her hands. "He stopped caring about me the moment he started caring about her." The affair had begun 6 months ago at a charity gala. Zara had been home with morning sickness, trusting her husband to represent their architecture firm at the event. Instead, he had spent the evening charming Scarlett Rivers, the party-loving socialite who collected rich men like handbags. What started as flirtation became something more. Secret lunches, weekend trips disguised as business meetings, expensive gifts that Zara only discovered when going through credit card statements. The worst part wasn't even the cheating, it was the way Theo had started treating her like a stranger in her own home. "We need to get back in there," Nina said, checking her watch. "But first, tell me honestly, are you okay? The baby?" Zara placed both hands on her belly, feeling the gentle movements of her daughter. "She's active, so that's good. But Nina, I can't do this. I can't sit in that room and watch him choose her over and over again. You don't have a choice. This divorce needs to happen, and we need to secure your future and your daughter's future. Theo has assets worth over $200 million. Half of that is yours." Through the bathroom door they could hear voices in the hallway. Theo's deep voice mixed with Scarlett's higher pitch, and they sounded like they were arguing. "Maybe she learned her lesson," Nina said hopefully. They opened the door to see Theo and Scarlett in heated conversation near the water fountain. Scarlett's perfect makeup was smeared, her blonde hair disheveled from her dramatic entrance. "You promised me this would be simple," Scarlett was saying. "You said she wouldn't fight it." "She's not fighting it," Theo replied, running a hand through his dark hair. "She wants the divorce as much as I do." "Then why is she asking for so much money? Half of everything? That's my money too now." Zara stopped walking. "Your money?" They weren't even divorced yet, and Scarlett was already claiming ownership of assets that belonged to a marriage she had helped destroy. Theo noticed Zara standing there. For a moment, something that might have been guilt flashed across his face. "Zara, about what happened in there." "Don't." Zara held up her hand. "Just don't." Scarlett was upset. "She didn't mean. She slapped your pregnant wife, Theo. She slapped me and you did nothing." Zara's voice was steady, but Nina could see her hands shaking. "You stood there and watched another woman attack the mother of your child." Scarlett rolled her eyes. "Oh please, it was hardly an attack. You're being dramatic." The words hung in the air like poison. Zara stared at this woman who had destroyed her marriage, who had just assaulted her in court, and who was now dismissing it like it meant nothing. "You're right," Zara said finally. "It wasn't an attack. It was a gift." Both Theo and Scarlett looked confused. "You showed everyone in that courtroom exactly who you are," Zara continued. "You showed the judge, the lawyers, the court reporter, everyone. You showed them that you're the kind of person who hits pregnant women. And Theo, you showed them that you're the kind of man who lets it happen." She turned to walk back toward the courtroom, Nina beside her. "Zara, wait," Theo called out. "We can work this out. We don't need to make this messy." She turned back, and for the first time in months she really looked at her husband. The man she had fallen in love with 5 years ago, the brilliant entrepreneur who had swept her off her feet with his ambition and charm. When had he become this stranger who could watch her get hurt and feel nothing? "It's already messy, Theo. You made it messy when you decided our marriage meant nothing. You made it messy when you chose her over your own family. And she made it messiest of all when she put her hands on me." Back in the courtroom, Judge Washington was reviewing files at his desk. When the parties returned, he noticed everything. The way Theo sat closer to Scarlett than to his own wife. The way Scarlett kept touching Theo's arm possessively. The way Zara sat alone, her lawyer beside her but clearly having no support from her husband. "Before we continue," the judge said, "I want to address what happened earlier. Mrs. Rivers, assault is a serious crime, especially against a pregnant woman. However, I understand Mrs. Blackwood does not wish to press charges at this time." Scarlett smirked, thinking she had gotten away with it. "However," Judge Washington continued, "this incident will be noted in the court record and will be considered during these proceedings. The smirk faded from Scarlett's face. Now, Mr. Blackwood, I've reviewed the preliminary financial statements your lawyer provided. Your net worth is listed at $215 million, is that correct? Approximately, yes, Your Honor. And Mrs. Blackwood is asking for 50% of marital assets, plus child support and alimony. Your Honor, Theo's lawyer stood up, my client believes that 50% is excessive given the short duration of the marriage. 4 years, Judge Washington said, reading from the file. 4 years of marriage, during which Mrs. Blackwood worked as a partner in their joint architecture firm, contributing both labor and reputation to their shared success. Zara blinked in surprise. She hadn't expected the judge to be so well informed about her professional contributions. Furthermore, the judge continued, Mrs. Blackwood is currently pregnant with Mr. Blackwood's child, which adds additional considerations to this case. He looked directly at Theo. Mr. Blackwood, do you intend to be an active father to this child? Theo glanced at Scarlett before answering. Of course, Your Honor. And will Mrs. Rivers be involved in the child's life? The question hung heavy in the air. Scarlett shifted uncomfortably, clearly not having considered the reality of stepmotherhood. We haven't discussed the details yet, Theo admitted. Judge Washington made more notes. I see. Well, Mr. Blackwood, I suggest you discuss those details carefully. The decisions you make now will affect this child for the rest of their life. As the hearing continued, Zara found herself studying the judge. There was something familiar about him, something in the way he looked at her with what seemed like more than professional interest. His questions were thorough, his attention to detail impressive, and his concern for her welfare seemed almost personal. She had never seen him before, she was sure of it. But the way he spoke, the way he tilted his head when he was thinking, it reminded her of someone. It reminded her of herself. Judge Robert Washington sat in his chambers long after the courthouse had emptied, staring at the file in front of him. Zara Washington Blackwood. The name felt strange on the official documents, his daughter's name hyphenated with that of a man who had just proven himself unworthy of her. 28 years ago, he had been a young prosecutor with big dreams and a pregnant girlfriend named Linda Washington. Linda had been a nurse, kind and patient and everything good in the world. When she told him she was pregnant, his first thought hadn't been joy, it had been panic. How could he become a judge with the responsibility of a baby? How could he focus on his career with a family to support? So he had made the worst decision of his life. He had left. He told himself it was better for everyone. Linda was strong, she could raise the child alone. He would send money, of course, but from a distance. He wouldn't be tied down by domestic responsibilities that might hurt his chances of appointment to the bench. The money had been sent faithfully for 18 years, but he had never once called or visited. He had heard through mutual friends that Linda had named the baby Zara, that she had grown up smart and talented, that she had become an architect. But he had never tried to make contact. Now, 28 years later, his daughter was sitting in his courtroom, going through the same abandonment he had put her mother through. The irony was crushing. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Come in. His clerk, James, entered with a stack of files. Judge, I have the research you requested on Blackwood Industries. Robert had asked James to pull any cases or investigations involving Theo's companies. What came back was interesting. There have been 3 complaints filed with the SEC in the past 2 years, James reported. All dismissed due to lack of evidence, but the pattern is concerning. Questions about tax shelters, offshore accounts, and some questionable business practices. Robert flipped through the documents. Who filed the complaints? Former employees mostly. People who claimed they witnessed fraudulent activities but couldn't prove it. This was exactly what Robert had hoped to find. James, I want you to do something for me, but keep it quiet. Reach out to your contact at the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. Ask them if they have any ongoing interest in Blackwood Industries. Sir, is that appropriate? Given that Mr. Blackwood's case is in your court. Robert looked at his clerk seriously. James, I'm not asking them to open an investigation. I'm asking if one already exists. There's a difference. If there are federal crimes being committed, this court needs to know about it, especially when it involves assets that are part of a divorce settlement. After James left, Robert opened his personal laptop and did something he had never done before. He searched for information about his daughter. What he found impressed him. Zara had graduated from Howard University with honors, then earned her master's degree from MIT. She had worked for several prestigious architectural firms before starting her own company with Theo 5 years ago. Their firm, Blackwood & Associates, had won several awards for innovative design. But more than her professional success, Robert was impressed by her character. There were articles about her volunteer work with Habitat for Humanity, her mentorship program for young women in architecture, her scholarship fund for underprivileged students. She had grown up to be everything he had hoped she would be, without any help from him. Meanwhile, across town, Zara was dealing with the aftermath of the court hearing. She sat in her downtown apartment, the one she had moved into when she discovered Theo's affair, surrounded by architectural drawings and baby furniture that still needed to be assembled. Nina had insisted on staying the night, worried about Zara being alone after the stress of the day. She was in the kitchen making tea when Zara's phone rang. "It's Theo," Zara said, looking at the caller ID. "Don't answer it," Nina called from the kitchen. But Zara was curious. What could he possibly want to say now? "Hello, Theo." "Zara, we need to talk. What happened today? It got out of hand." "You think?" "Scarlett didn't mean to hurt you. She was just emotional." Zara closed her eyes. Even now he was defending her. "Theo, she slapped me. In court. While I'm carrying your child. I know, and I'm sorry. But can we please just work this out between us? We don't need lawyers and judges making decisions about our family." "Our family?" Zara almost laughed. "Theo, you chose your family when you chose her. I'm just the ex-wife now. You don't have to be. We could try again. For the baby's sake." The suggestion hung in the air like smoke. For a moment, just a moment, Zara felt the old pull of their history together. The good times, the shared dreams, the love that had felt so real. Then she remembered the look on his face when Scarlett had hit her. The way he had reached for his mistress instead of his wife. "No, Theo. We can't try again. Some things can't be fixed." "So you're really going to take half of everything? Even though you left me?" "I left you because you were cheating on me." "That's not how I remember it." Zara felt something cold settle in her chest. "How do you remember it?" "I remember you getting distant during the pregnancy. Moody. Hard to live with. Scarlett was just there for me when you weren't." The rewriting of history was breathtaking. He was actually blaming her for his affair. "Goodbye, Theo." She hung up and sat in the quiet of her apartment, feeling the baby move inside her. Tomorrow she would start over completely. No more shared business, no more shared home, no more shared life. Just her and her daughter against the world. What she didn't know was that across town, Judge Robert Washington was making sure she wouldn't have to fight alone. He picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in 28 years. "Linda? It's Robert. I know it's been a long time, but I saw Zara today and we need to talk." The phone call had lasted 3 hours. 28 years of silence broken by a single conversation that changed everything. Linda Washington, now Linda Martinez, remarried